Some questions pass through our minds like a gentle breeze, and some questions arrive like a silent earthquake, capable of changing the course of an entire life. Today, I want to invite you to face one of them, perhaps one of the most important questions you've ever heard. What truly separates the people who achieve wealth and success from those who spend their entire lives in mediocrity? It may seem simple, but this question carries enormous weight. It provokes. It disturbs. It forces you to look inward, and not everyone is ready for that. Many people quickly respond, it's luck. Others say, it's talent. Some argue that it's discipline. Others insist it's networking, contacts, being in the right place. But are these the real reasons for success? Can someone's life really be reduced to a stroke of luck, or to knowing the right people? This is the lazy version of the truth. It's the version that eases the conscience. It's the version that makes you believe that success is out of your reach, that it doesn't depend on you. But let's dig deeper, because the hole is much deeper. The truth, the one few really like to admit, is that the foundation of success begins in the mind. It's not the initial money. It's not the family. It's not the resume. It's not the city you live in. It's your mind. If you've ever wondered why two people living the same reality, with the same level of education and the same opportunities, arrive at completely opposite results, here's the answer. They didn't have the same worldview. And worldview means how you see yourself, how you see others, how you perceive wealth, how you interpret difficulties, how you react to life. And when you change that, everything changes. But before we get into that point, let's consider the following. Have you ever been in a situation where someone seemed less intelligent, less prepared, or less talented than you, but still managed to achieve something great? Perhaps that person started a business, got a better job, traveled abroad, made money, became a reference in something. And then you ask yourself, but how? What does this person have that I don't have? And the answer came as a whisper. She believed. And you doubted. Simple and brutal. But before this sounds abstract, let me show you what it really means. There is a huge difference between someone who believes they can and someone who believes they can't. This difference is so great that it completely changes their daily decisions, attitudes, and reactions. Look, the person who believes they can takes the risk. The person who believes they can't retreats. Those who believe they can try once, twice, 3 times, 10 times. Those who believe they can't try once and give up. Those who believe they can see opportunities where no one else sees anything. Those who believe they can't see problems in everything. Those who believe they can seek solutions. Those who believe they can't seek excuses. The mind shapes the external world. And that's not philosophy, it's reality. But here comes the most important part of this chapter. Most of the beliefs you have about money, success, and prosperity are not your own. Yes, they were installed. For whom? For your parents. For the school. For the neighborhood where you grew up. For the people you interacted with. For the stories you heard. For the phrases that were repeated to you since you were a child. Money doesn't fall from the sky. It's very difficult to get rich. Those who have money are arrogant. A secure job is better than taking a risk. I'm not going to dream because I might be disappointed. That's not for people like us. These phrases are like viruses that enter the subconscious and create invisible limitations. And when you realize it, you're living a life you didn't choose. A life programmed by others. A small, withdrawn, limited life. Now, here's the most shocking part. What if everything you believe about money and success is completely wrong? Seriously. What if you're struggling to achieve wealth using a map that doesn't work? What if your mind is conditioned to keep you exactly where you are, even if you desire something greater? This thought is uncomfortable, but it's liberating, because it means there is a path, and that you can change that path starting with the way you think. Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, one of the greatest prosperity books in history, spent 20 years interviewing millionaires, entrepreneurs, inventors, creators, and geniuses. He discovered a simple yet powerful truth. Success is a state of mind before it is a financial state. First, you become rich on the inside. Then, the universe responds. Now think about this. How many times have you sabotaged an opportunity because you thought it wasn't for you? How many times have you failed to act out of fear? How many times have you believed it was impossible? How many times have you given up before truly trying? What if this self-sabotaging mechanism is hidden within your subconscious mind, and you don't even realize it? In this chapter, you are discovering something that many go their whole lives without discovering. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you believe. If you believe you don't deserve it, you won't receive it. If you believe you can't achieve it, you won't succeed. If you believe it's difficult, it will be difficult. If you believe it's impossible, it will be impossible. And here begins the turning point. From today onward, you will see your mind as a factory, and everything you produce in it will manifest in the real world at some point. But before we move on, let me ask you another question. Are you truly prepared to let go of the beliefs that have limited you until now? Because this is deeper than it seems. Changing your mind is uncomfortable. It's painful. It's challenging. It means leaving behind your old identity, the one you've learned to defend your whole life, and embracing a new version of yourself. A stronger version, braver, more aware, more powerful. Are you ready for this? Or is it that, deep down, there's still a fear of growing up? Think honestly, because the next chapter will take you even deeper. It will show you, in practice, how success transforms the mind, emotions, relationships, and the way you see the world. And you won't want to miss this. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all the upcoming chapters of this transformative journey. Comment below where you're watching from. If you change the way you think, the universe will change the way it responds. But are you willing to open the door to this new reality? Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow in a completely different life. A life where you no longer have to worry about bills, schedules, external pressures, or expectations that imprison you. Imagine that you can choose, truly choose, how to live. It may seem distant now, but this life exists, and it begins within you, before manifesting in the external world. In this chapter, I want to take you inside the experience of success. Not that superficial experience that many people post on social media. Not luxury cars, expensive trips, or empty ostentation. I want to show you what success really is. A shift in perception, energy, and freedom. Because money doesn't create success. It's inner success that creates money. Glowing star success is a perception. Let's start by dismantling one of the biggest illusions that society fosters. The idea that success is something distant, difficult, and reserved for a select few. But think about it. What is success anyway? Success is having freedom. Freedom to choose where to work, with whom to work, when to rest, how to live. Freedom to feel safe, fulfilled, capable. Money, that tool so often judged, so often praised, so often misunderstood, is nothing more than an amplifier. It amplifies who you are, what you feel, and how you live. If you are insecure, money amplifies your insecurity. If you are generous, it amplifies your generosity. If you are creative, it expands your creativity. If you are fearful, it paralyzes your life. Success begins not when you receive more money, but when you become someone who knows what to do with it. And this is where the transformation begins. Glowing star, how success reorganizes your life. Now, imagine you achieve financial freedom. How would you begin making decisions? Maybe you would stop accepting jobs that make you feel bad. Maybe you would spend more time with people who make you feel good. Maybe you would finally have the courage to create, to start a business, to write, to sing, to draw. Or perhaps you would realize that what really matters is not the money, but what it represents. The power of choice. And that's when many begin to awaken. When people experience success, even if only for a few moments, something inside them ignites. They realize they have more control than they imagined. They realize that life can be guided, shaped, directed. And that changes everything. Glowing star stories that prove the impossible. To understand what success really does to someone, let's look at some real-life examples. Oprah Winfrey grew up poor, in an emotionally devastating environment. full of traumas and limitations imposed by society. But she had two things: a vision and a mind willing to expand. J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter while living on welfare, with her young daughter in her lap, inside cheap cafes. She had the courage to dream when everything around her told her to give up. Ed Sheeran slept in London subway stations when he had nowhere else to stay. He did have enough persistence to face all kinds of no. Tyler Perry was living in his car when he began writing the play that would change his life. He had the determination to keep going even after repeated failures. And there is one thing that connects all these giants. They didn't start with money. They started with an inner transformation. They believed before they had. They became before they received. They vibrated before they manifested. This is the true experience of success. Glowing star, the conflict of strategies. Now, let's talk about something you may have already experienced: the confusion about which path to follow. We live in an era where everyone seems to have a ready-made formula for success. Invest in stocks. Create content. Start a company. Network. Innovate in technology. Be an artist. Each one defending a path as if it were the only possible option. But let me tell you a secret. There is no single path. There are many, and they all work as long as they work for you. You can get rich by creating art. You can get rich by innovating. You can get rich by starting a business. You can get rich by investing. You can get rich by writing, cooking, teaching, building, healing, transforming. Money goes where there is energy, intention, authenticity, and movement. But then an internal conflict arises that holds many people back. What if I choose the wrong path? Your mind starts to trap you with doubts like, what if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if I regret it? What if I'm not good enough? What if people laugh at me? And here's the provocation you need to hear. You're not lacking results because you chose the wrong path. You're lacking results because you didn't choose any path at all. The universe responds to decision. It does not respond to indecision. The power of choice is greater than any strategy. Glowing star, the awakening of consciousness. As you watch and delve deeper into this journey, something begins to happen within you. You start to question, do I see myself as less than I really am? Were my beliefs about money instilled by fear? Does my future depend less on my current situation and more on my mindset? And then an awakening occurs. A small flame of awareness that begins to grow. She makes you realize that you are not behind schedule. You are not limited. You are not condemned to repeat the lives of those who came before you. You are exactly where you need to be to awaken. Everything you've experienced so far, the pain, the fears, the challenges, is part of your inner development. And here is the most important sentence of this chapter. Success is not something you achieve. It's something you become. Glowing star life begins to reshape itself. As you begin to internalize this, something magical happens. The world around you begins to look different. People who once limited you cease to have influence over you. Sounds of doubt begin to fade. Fears begin to lose their power. And a new narrative begins to form within your mind. You are no longer asking for permission to live. You are creating your own life. And that's the beginning of true success. Glowing star, the provocation that changes everything. Now I want to ask you something and answer it honestly to yourself. Which version of yourself is asking to be born? Yes, that version exists. The version with courage, with voice, with power, with purpose, with energy, with vision. But it only appears when you decide that enough is enough. That you no longer accept living halfway. That you no longer accept merely surviving when you were born to create. Success is an internal experience. And it begins the moment you say, enough. I want more. And now we arrive at the critical point of this journey. In the next chapter, you'll discover a truth that Napoleon Hill, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, and many other geniuses deeply understood. What you do is not as important as who you become. The mind is the key. Choice is the engine. Discipline is the fuel. And vision is the destination. Are you ready to take the next step? bell before we continue. Click subscribe and leave a comment telling us which of these stories inspired you the most. This helps YouTube deliver this content to more people who need to awaken their faith. There are moments in life when it seems like everything is falling apart. Plans fail, doors close, opportunities slip through your fingers. And in those moments, many people believe that the problem lies outside, in the world, in other people, in circumstances. But today, you're going to discover one of the most uncomfortable and at the same time liberating truths of human existence. The difference between those who achieve the impossible and those who live trapped in mediocrity lies in the mind. Not in opportunities, not in talent, not in luck. And yes, this truth hurts, because it gives you back the power and takes away all the excuses. But it is also this truth that changes the destiny of anyone who accepts it.
Take a deep breath.
Because today you're going to understand why Napoleon Hill, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, and Picasso saw the world in a way that almost no one else can. And this could change everything for you. Glowing star the mind as the creator of destinies. Napoleon Hill studied millionaires for 20 years. He traveled, interviewed, observed, and analyzed. And after investigating more than 500 extremely successful people, he discovered a single truth that was repeated in absolutely all of them. Before achieving anything else, they conquered their own minds. This sounds poetic, but it's actually profoundly practical. Because the mind is what decides. What do you see as possible? What do you believe you deserve? How do you react to failure? How much risk are you willing to take? What do you do with opportunities? What kind of life do you allow yourself? A small mind creates a small life. An expanded mind creates an extraordinary life. There are no exceptions. Glowing star Walt Disney and the power to see the invisible. Before Mickey Mouse existed, before movies, parks, empires, magic, Walt Disney was just a rejected young man. They called him too much of a dreamer. Irresponsible. Crazy. Someone who didn't live in the real world. Until one day, he was literally fired from a newspaper where he worked because his boss said, "You're not creative enough." The irony of life. But Disney had something that no one could take away from him.
He saw what no one else saw.
He saw worlds, characters, stories, magic, potential,
Paths.
and all of this within one's own mind. And here's the most important part. He believed so much in the invisible that the invisible began to become real. That is the essence of mental power. Glowing star Steve Jobs and the power of unwavering vision. Jobs was fired from his own company. Apple, his creation, removed him from the leadership. And any ordinary person would have given up, would have humiliated themselves, would have fallen into depression, would have accepted defeat. But Jobs had such a profound, such an inner, such an unwavering vision that he simply carried on. He knew who he was. He knew what he wanted to create. He knew he had something to offer the world. And he returned, stronger, more energetic, more clear. And it transformed global technology.
Why?
Because a determined mind is impossible to stop. Glowing star Picasso and the power to create realities. Picasso was criticized, ridiculed, called strange, confusing, clumsy. But he didn't paint what he saw. He painted what he felt. He painted what he imagined. He painted the world not as it was, but as it could be. This is the power of the creator. This is the power of those who have expanded their own minds. And that's exactly what most people lack. It's not talent. It's not skill. It's not opportunity. It's a matter of mindset. Glowing star, the initial discovery. Mindset is the foundation. The human mind functions like an antenna. She emits frequencies, thoughts, beliefs, emotions. And these frequencies attract circumstances, decisions, and behaviors that create her reality. If you think small, you attract small opportunities. If you think big, you attract great possibilities. If you believe things are difficult, everything in your life becomes a challenge. If you believe everything is possible, the universe will work to prove it to you. The mind is the filter, and the world is merely the reflection. Hill discovered 4 essential pillars that appear in every success story. Mindset, believing before seeing. Persistence, continuity even without immediate results. Visualization, clearly seeing what does not yet exist. Discipline, transforming intention into daily action. The formula is simple, but the execution requires courage. Glowing star, the dilemma, security or greatness. Now we come to the conflict that destroys millions of dreams every year. The dilemma. Do I take risks and grow? Or do I stay in my comfort zone and remain small? And here's the most painful part. Most people choose comfort. They choose stability. They choose the familiar path, even if it's a bad one. Because the human brain was designed to survive, not to grow. Growing hurts. Transforming hurts. Changing hurts. But you know what hurts the most? Looking back in 10 years and realizing you could have been so much more, but you were afraid to try. Every time you choose safety over purpose, you move away from your greatness. Every time you choose doubt instead of action, you clip your own wings. Every time you choose fear over possibility, you betray the most powerful version of yourself. The question is, do you prefer the comfort that limits you, or the risk that transforms you? Glowing star strategy or intuition? Which path to follow? Another destructive dilemma is this. Do I follow the logical strategy or do I follow my intuition? The most successful people in the world combine both things. Strategy without intuition makes you robotic. Intuition without strategy leaves you lost. Napoleon Hill said that human beings need to learn to balance reason and imagination. Reason shows you the way. Imagination shows you the destination. Reason protects you. Imagination expands you. But what drives you isn't logic. It's the inner vision. It is a deep desire. It's the quiet certainty you feel when you think about what you really want. That feeling, that shiver, that glow, that strength. Is your soul saying, "This is the way"? Glowing star, the invisible sacrifice. Everyone wants to change. Everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants to win. But almost no one wants to sacrifice. And here's a truth that many people don't want to hear. Reaching the next level requires you to leave something behind. It could be a habit. It could be a fear. It could be a relationship. It could be an excuse.
It could be an identity.
It could be an old self. The question is, what are you willing to sacrifice to reach your full potential? This answer defines the size of your future. Now that you've begun to understand the power of your mind, it's time to take the next step. In the next chapter, you will face dark and transformative territory. The abyss, the phase where people lose everything or are completely reborn. You will discover why some people break down in the face of failure, why others are reborn stronger, how to transform pain into leverage, why the subconscious reacts more to fear than to desire, how to align emotion, reason, and discipline to create real wealth. Get ready. From here on out, the transformation becomes more profound. Have you ever noticed that every worthwhile dream requires crossing an abyss? And that, before any great leap, there is always a moment of silence, insecurity, and fear, as if the universe were testing you? This is the chapter where the truth appears naked and raw. No one reaches the top without first walking through the valley of shadows. But most people don't understand this. They think failure is the end, when in reality, it's the universal rite of passage for those who choose greatness. Take a deep breath, because now you're going to face this abyss head-on. Failure breaks or sets free. Imagine someone starting a business, a project, a dream. Everything seems perfect at first: energy, motivation, excitement. But suddenly, the first door closes. The first no. The first loss. The first collapse. It is here, exactly here, that many give up. But the people who achieved wealth, freedom, and purpose did something different. They crossed the chasm. Napoleon Hill called this moment the ultimate test of persistence. He said, "Temporary failure is nature's way of testing our resolve." And he was right. Because the universe doesn't deliver great results to people with little faith. When life crushes you, the game begins. Let's open this chapter by sharing real stories, like a mirror reflecting your own life. Small Blue Diamond J.K. Rowling, rejected by more than 10 publishers, in debt, depressed, raising her daughter alone. The book that would change the world was rejected time and time again. Imagine if she had stopped at the 5th attempt, or the 7th, or the 10th. Small Blue Diamond Steve Jobs, ousted from his own company, publicly humiliated. He was called unstable, difficult, incapable. The world thought he was finished. Little did they know he was about to create the greatest turnaround in Silicon Valley history. Small Blue Diamond Oprah Winfrey suffered abuse, extreme poverty, and was fired from her first TV job because she didn't have the right profile for journalism. Do you notice the pattern? They all went through the abyss. They all lost, failed, fell. And this is where the truth is revealed. There is no overcoming without setbacks. There is no leap without fear. There is no expansion without chaos. The universe puts chaos in your path, not to destroy you, but to sculpt you. The moral dilemma: to risk and lose, or never to live. This is the most profound point of this chapter. The moment where you confront the question that separates those who only dream from those who achieve. Is it better to take the risk and lose, or to stay in your comfort zone knowing you'll never achieve anything greater than what you have today? This question is a mirror. And if you have the courage to look into it, you will discover that the greatest risk of all is not risking anything. Because comfort keeps you where you are. And where you are today is simply the result of who you were yesterday. To create a new reality, you need to become a new version of yourself. And that hurts. It hurts because it requires breaking habits. It hurts because it requires letting go of people who don't strengthen you. It hurts because it requires exposing yourself, trying, failing, trying again. It hurts because it requires facing your own mind, and it doesn't always want to cooperate. But while some remain trapped by fear, others look into the abyss and say, "I go." And it is these few who discover that, on the other side, there is expansion, freedom, wealth, and purpose. The comfort zone, the most dangerous prison in the world. Most people live within a silent cycle. Backhand index pointing right, fear of taking risks. Backhand index pointing right, fear of trying. Backhand index pointing right, fear of losing. Backhand index pointing right, fear of looking ridiculous. Backhand index pointing right, fear of others' judgment. And you know what happens? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They don't grow, they don't evolve, they don't expand. Comfort is seductive. It's lukewarm. It's predictable. It's safe. But comfort comes at a price. It kills your true potential. Napoleon Hill repeated a simple but powerful phrase. The only limitation is the one you accept in your own mind. The abyss is not the problem. Fear is not the problem. Failure is not the problem. The problem is accepting a life that is less than the one you were born to live. Combining reason, emotion, creativity, and discipline, the code to wealth. Success is not linear. It is a dance between four forces. Fire, reason. To plan, structure, and think strategically. Yellow heart, emotion. To connect with purpose. To keep going even when everything is falling apart. Artist palette, creativity. To see paths where no one else can see them. Hammer and wrench, discipline. To do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Think of these four elements as gears. If just one of them fails, the whole system collapses. When these forces align, you create something powerful. Momentum, the mental state where everything begins to flow. You act with clarity, focus, and purpose. You begin to see opportunities where you previously saw barriers. You manifest as a co-creator of your own life. This is the secret code that Napoleon Hill studied for decades. This is the code that transforms lives. The abyss is not the end. It's the gateway. Imagine that life is pressuring you, demanding things from you, stretching you beyond what you think you can bear. What if I told you that this isn't punishment, but rather expansion? The universe pushes you to the limit not to break you, but to make you cross over. Every great transformation begins with a collapse. Every new version is born from the end of the old. If you are experiencing a moment of doubt, pain, failure, or setback, know that it is not a sign that you should stop. It's a sign that you're in the right place. Because no one crosses the abyss without first feeling fear. And no one finds their own hidden power without first being forced to seek it. The abyss is the gateway. And only the brave pass through. By now, you've probably realized something. The great transformation doesn't begin in the external world. It begins within the mind. Every belief, every thought, every choice has the power to bring you closer to or further away from your most powerful version. But there is an even deeper change, a turning point that only those who persevere discover. And in the next chapter, we'll reveal how the right mindset transforms wealth into legacy. How a select few manage not only to rise, but to stay at the top.
Get ready.
Because the final chapter will show you what it truly means to live with purpose, intention, and spiritual power. We've reached the final chapter of this journey. And before we continue, take a deep breath, because now we're no longer just talking about wealth, money, or success. We're talking about true legacy, what you leave behind in the world when you're no longer here. The final chapter is not an end point. It is a rebirth. This is the moment when you understand that the universe gives you nothing while you remain trapped in fear, doubt, or stagnation. It only opens doors when you finally awaken your inner power. If you're here, reading this, it's because you feel you were born for something greater. And this chapter will show you exactly how to turn that feeling into reality. Final thought: success isn't just money, it's freedom. There is a phrase that is often repeated, but poorly understood. Wealth is not what you have, it's who you become. True wealth begins in the mind and expands into life. Money is important, but it's a tool. Freedom is the goal. Purpose is the fuel. When you achieve freedom, you stop living in reaction and start living in creation. You stop surviving and start choosing. You stop putting out fires and start building futures. By now, you've probably understood. Success is made up of mindset plus action plus persistence plus vision. But there is one final secret, the secret that differentiates those who make money from those who build a legacy. And that secret is intentionality. Intentionality, the invisible force that changes everything. Napoleon Hill discovered, after decades of studying the greatest geniuses in history, that intentionality is the energy that transforms desires into reality. It's when you act with clarity, when you know what you want, why you want it, and where you're going. A person without intention navigates life like a rudderless boat. They may move forward, but they never arrive anywhere. The person with intention, on the other hand, backhand index pointing right, turn every obstacle into a stepping stone. Backhand index pointing right, see opportunities in chaos. Backhand index pointing right, create strategies while others complain. Backhand index pointing right, adapt, evolve, and advance. Backhand index pointing right, vibrate at the frequency of achievement. This person understands that the mind is the primary battlefield, and they win that war every day. Reconstruction, the formula for creating a legacy. You went through the fears, through the abysses, through the doubts, through the falls. Now the reconstruction begins, and it happens in 3 pillars. 1. Mindset, the model of your reality. Your mind creates the structure of your life. If you think small, you live small. If you think about risk, you live in fear. If you think about abundance, you live in expansion. The mind is the center of the quantum field. It is the point where intention becomes vibration and vibration becomes matter. The question is, what reality are you projecting every day? Because the universe gives back to you exactly what you emanate. 2. Action, the path to manifestation. Attraction doesn't work without action. No visualization becomes real if you don't move towards it. Life rewards those who act,
Those who try.
those who are disciplined, those who take one step each day. Action is energy in motion, and energy in motion creates transformation. 3. Continuous learning, the code of expansion. Great minds never stop. They never think they know everything. They never settle in their own comfort zone. Learning is what keeps you growing, and growing is what keeps you alive. You could lose everything: money, stability, relationships, projects, But if you have the knowledge, discipline, and mindset, you can rebuild everything and better. This is true power. This is the inner legacy. The world needs your greatness. There's a truth that nobody tells you. You're not just here to survive. You're here to make an impact. Your talent is no accident. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. Your intuition is not random. Your desire for something greater is not ego. It's a calling. You only feel this calling because you have the potential to answer it. And the world is waiting for your answer. The people who change the planet aren't the smartest or the richest. They're the most willing. Willing to try. Willing to fail. Willing to start over. Willing not to give up. Your legacy begins when you understand this. Your life has an impact, and your story matters. The inspirational message: greatness lies within you. What you create doesn't need to be huge to transform lives. What matters is that it's genuine, intentional, and aligned with who you truly are. The universe opens doors for those who act with purpose. People change when they find clarity. Life changes when you decide to stop being a spectator and become the protagonist. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take the first step with courage. Because the universe doesn't answer doubt. It answers decision. The last great reflection. If you could look at your own life 10 years from now, what would you see? A story that makes you proud? Or a story you'd like to rewrite? Now, imagine there is a simple but powerful truth. Backhand index pointing right, the life you want already exists in the quantum realm. Backhand index pointing right, it's already waiting for you. Backhand index pointing right, and you just need to become the person who will live it. True wealth is not about accumulation. It's about expansion. It's about purpose. It's about positive influence. It's about freedom. Money, art, creativity. All of these are just tools. You are the creator. You are the center. You are the field where reality manifests. Don't underestimate its power. And now that you know this, that you have seen your own power, that you have gained clarity about your mind, your choices, and your destiny, I have one last question for you. Are you ready to finally take control of your life? Or will you continue living in the shadow of what could have been? The answer will define your legacy. If this video touched you, if it awakened something within you, then subscribe to the channel now, turn on notifications, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. And comment below. Backhand index pointing right, I choose to create my legacy. Remember, this phrase isn't just a comment. It's a commitment to your new version. An energetic declaration to the universe. See you in the next video. And until then, never forget, true wealth is born in the mind. And the universe rewards those who dare to dream and to act.